The Emperor's children are well known, but not for the best reasons. They have been labeled as freaky Marines, substance abusers, and they're honestly not taken too seriously, especially compared to other legions. But is this true or fair? In this video, I want to deep dive into the issues that, in my opinion, hold the Emperor's children back from being more popular and clear up some misinformation. First are their characters. The Emperor's children don't have an extremely likable character like the other legions do. For example, like Karn, Ahriman, and Abaddon. They just don't have a strong character. And as for their Primarch, Fulgrim is usually labeled as one of the worst Primarchs, which I don't think is true. And then Fabius Bile, a character that people tend to like, he left the Legion. And then you have Lucius, the main Emperor's Children guy, and he has not done what other champions and warband leaders have done and pales in comparison when put beside them. But we'll discuss Lucius more later on. The Emperor's Children characters are very similar when it comes to personality. Fulgrim, Lucius, and Julius Caesarion are all scummy, treacherous, and completely arrogant. Idolon and Fabius are the only ones that stray from those archetypes. As for Idolon, he has only recently been diverted from this typical arrogant role, which can be seen in the Idolon Warhammer book. The only character the community seems to respect or glorify is Rylanor, who I think is kind of overrated. And now, back to Lucius. I believe Lucius is a character that holds the Emperor's children back from popularity, because many tend to not like Lucius, his character, his combat feats, and his gimmick of resurrection. I understand why many people don't like the blessing where Lucius can never truly be killed. They feel like it's a cheap gimmick, but I'm going to be honest, I think all of the champions of chaos have this same gimmick. Karn has been brought back from the dead once, Ahriman has been saved by Tzeentch, and I honestly think if any of the 5 moral champions died, like Abaddon, Karn, Ahriman, Typhus, they would be resurrected. So do people hate it because Lucius knows he will come back and he doesn't care about his life and that ruins his story? Or is it because they can't have what-if battles with Lucius in it? So please let me know. Because after reading The Faultless Blade, Lucius's gimmick has some depth to it. He is slowly losing himself and is becoming an amalgamation of souls all in one body. But I do agree that Lucius still lacks the character depth that is needed for a main champion of a dark god, and he has a terrible win-loss record when compared to other powerful named characters. Now I want to talk about Idolon. After reading Idolon's book, there's a lot of potential there for him to be the next EC guy. As I mentioned before about Idolon's character switch, he takes a new role and is now more similar to Abaddon. After he is revived by Fabius Bile, he is disciplined, he stands up and goes against his Primarch, and his main goal is the Long War now. Idolon is also the top dog of the 3rd Legion, which is weird since all of the other champions of the Dark Gods were or are the second in command to their Primarch. And also, Idolon is in charge of the largest and most disciplined Emperor's Children warband. And I sometimes think how Lucius might have been a mistake by GW, and it should have been Idolon who became the champion of Slenesh. And it is really disappointing that Idolon did not get a new miniature with the new Emperor's Children release. But I wonder if they keep pushing a character like this, will more people become more interested in the Emperor's Children? Please let me know what you guys think. On to the next section, probably the most controversial one, and I believe this is a huge thing that holds the Emperor's Children back, and those are the memes and jokes that have spread misinformation about the Emperor's Children. I know memes are funny and all, but the Emperor's Children are constantly shit on by the community. The Emperor's Children are constantly the butt of a meme. The community loves to hype up the other factions like Khorne Berserkers, how they're dangerous killing machines. They respect how tanky Plague Marines are, and Rubrican Sorcerers are feared due to their psychic abilities. Noise Marines and Sleneshi champions are just kind of referred to as coked out rock stars who will do freaky things to you if you're captured, which is very simplified and also untrue. They do enjoy stims and narcotics, so the coked out thing kind of does make sense, but I wouldn't really categorize them as rock stars. I would say Noise Marines are more of composers or singers in a choir instead of rock stars. So let's get back to talking about the stims, Because the 3rd Legion, they do take combat stims and drugs that improve their combat performance. And these combat stims give them a rush that also makes them move faster and react faster. And the Emperor's Children also, they do take slaves, just like every Traitor Legion, but they don't take slaves to get freaky with them. They use them to crew ships and use them as ingredients for narcotics. So when you're reading an Emperor's Children book or a codex entry and they talk about using slaves for their dark desires, they're usually using them to feed off their pain and torture, so sadistic uses, and they use them for ingredients as mentioned before and sacrifices to Slenesh. And now, as I mentioned before, the Emperor's Children just aren't taken too seriously, but in my opinion, I would say the Emperor's Children Chaos Space Marines are the most unpredictable Chaos Space Marines after reading their books. Noise Marines or Champions of Slenesh are truly a mixed bag. You just never know what you're going to get when you're going against them. Some are crazed fiends of pleasure and agony, unsettling and disturbing, or some of them could be disciplined swordsmen. Oh, and some can also be sorcerers too. These Champions of Slenesh are dangerous on their own, but with the use of their combat enhancing stims, it just puts them on a whole nother level, and this separates them from other Chaos Space Marines. Alright, now let's move on to their Primarch, Fulgrim, who has been made into a joke by the community. Fulgrim is commonly referred to as the Freaky Snake. It's a common occurrence I see online, and I don't know where this meme originated from, to be honest. I guess it's just his association with Slenesh. But to be honest, it's a title that doesn't really make sense at all, because Fulgrim has never been stated to have sexual desires in the first place, and I'm sure all Primarchs have had that part of their humanity removed during their creation. Even when he fell to Slenesh, he still has never once been stated to engage in sexual acts. And I know it's funny and it's just jokes, but when new people are exposed to Warhammer and they think this is the only thing Fulgrim does, it's kind of sad, because Fulgrim, he does a lot of great things in lore and he's a very standout character compared to his brothers. Also, Fulgrim is usually never fully credited for his wins against other Primarchs, and people say that he needed outside help, or it's because he's a demon Primarch. Like, they say he needed a demon sword to kill Ferrus Manus, but people never remember how Fulgrim was conflicted during that battle and was holding him back, and how Fulgrim beat Ferrus Manus on his own flagship earlier without the Demon Blade. Fulgrim has also killed 2 Primarchs. Yes, I'm counting Guilliman, because Guilliman had to be resurrected, and this is still downplayed. Fulgrim has killed more Primarchs than any other Primarch. People also say Fulgrim was corrupted by a sword, it couldn't have been by Primarch, it was a lousy way to fall to chaos. Fulgrim had no knowledge of chaos, its agents, or its effects on the mind. The Emperor not telling his sons about the powers in the warp is what led to the Imperium's downfall. Ignorance killed his own crusade. Many legionnaires couldn't even acknowledge the presence of gods in general without facing scrutiny from their brothers and cousins. Also, some Primarchs just have innate resistances to warp shenanigans, like the Lion and Leman Russ, while others do not. And also, the Fulgrim and Jakatai convo, where he says, "I heard you do strange things to your warriors," has been misinterpreted to whole new levels. He knows that Fulgrim and Fabius Bile are experimenting on the Emperor's Children, and that's what he is referring to. He is not referring to Fulgrim getting freaky with his sons. Thank you. Alright, and let's move on past the memes now, and lastly, on to Slenesh. Slenesh has been something GW have been trying to shy away from, or trying to revamp, but have kind of failed. But what does this have to do with the Emperor's Children? Well, Slenesh is their associated god, and they do take a lot of her traits. And Slenesh has just been in a weird spot for a while, and GW seems to be scared to push Slenesh in any sort of way, and is usually the last one of the 4 Chaos Gods to get any representation, or sometimes they just skip out on Slenesh entirely. Slenesh is true to be the darkest Chaos God by far, so it makes sense to keep her out of the spotlight. But this reluctance to push or expand Slenesh affects the Emperor's Children heavily. A Sleneshi force has not been the main villain in a Warhammer video game, show, or form of popular media, while Nurgle and Khorne get the most attention and Tzeentch finally getting the spotlight in Space Marine 2. Slanesh is also abstract compared to the other Chaos Gods and is not easily represented, but I do think Slanesh does have some simpler traits like arrogance, pride, and perfection in warfare for newer fans to get into. So, can Slanesh be popular? I honestly don't think so unless they expand on her other themes instead of just focusing on the androgynous leather BDSM look. And I think Age of Sigmar does a pretty good job at showing the different themes of Slanesh, and I believe 40k needs to do the same. Overall, the Emperor's Children are a unique take of Space Marines turning against the Emperor, and I know they can cook up some interesting Emperor's Children Marines. These are Space Marines that don't want to be shackled by duty and oaths, and are free to explore their own desires no matter how debased they are. And it's really a shame that many don't take the time to look into their lore and stick to the freaky, coked out rockstar label. So please, guys, give their books a chance. But that's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed listening. Let me know why you guys like or dislike the Emperor's Children and how you think GW can improve upon them. So stay tuned for future videos. Thanks for watching.